So we already mentioned it's very easy to make mistakes in the file path when you try to open the file. A lot of students make mistakes when they try to do this. And you can see from previous session, even I made a lot of mistakes when trying to identify the file location. So we will go through some information on how a file path is determined and how we should utilize them. File path basically is the file name with its location, all the folders that it resides in. For example, for this input.txt file, it resides in this folder, and its file name is input.txt. So once you have the folders plus the file name, you will have the full path to identify this very file, which is called absolute path. Anytime in Java, you can always use absolute path to properly identify a file. As you can see in the previous run, we actually use absolute path starting from the drive root folder all the way to the file, to the subfolder and the file. This is working. Absolute path can also be broken down into two parts: working folder and relative path. Eclipse working folder consists of two parts. Absolute path to working folder. Eclipse workspace and the project name. Eclipse workspace you can always get by getting to File, Switch Workspace, Other. This is the workspace. And if you go, I think we already go through this, but if you go to this workspace folder, you will see the project names under. And here, my project is the project name. So I'm going to add this my project. This becomes the working folder. Matching this absolute path to working folder, you can see we have the same first field path identical to what is the working folder. So the rest of the absolute path is the relative path. You can enter absolute path when you try to open the file. You can also enter a relative path. So here, if I run relative path, it works for me too, right? The problem with absolute relative path is you have to know the working folder really well. And the mistake I made just now is because I thought working folder was just the Eclipse space, so I was missing the project name. That's why when you are missing the project name, Eclipse, when I enter this path, my project, because I thought working space is just the Eclipse working space, so I try to use this project name plus subfolder as the relative path. And when you try to do this, the generated absolute path becomes this with two my projects, and of course it will fail. Once I change the relative path to remove the project name because it should already inside the working folder, then it works.